Sorry I couldn't do class today. I want to walk you through one of the things we need to learn how to do, which is we've already looked at how to save data. Next, we're going to look at how do you save data, but not just any old data. How do you save an array, and not just any old array, but which we've looked at. But how do I save an array of a custom struct? So if I don't want just a list of task names, I want a struct of the task name plus the prioritization and its status, like is it complete, is it not complete, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's relatively simple, but it requires a little bit of sending on one foot and that sort of business. So just follow along. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll get started with creating a single view app. I'm going to call this UserDefaults struct save array of struct demo. And that all looks good. It goes bloop, 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 bleep, 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 and makes the file. We're going to make a really simple storyboard. We're just going to have, similar to what we had before, we'll have a little label, or a button rather, called like save task. And we'll have a text field you can type into. And we said we want to make it so you can have prioritization. So I'm going to have a segment of control that's a prioritization. And I'll customize this. So high priority, medium, and we'll add a new one, low. Remember, high, medium, and low that I just typed in there, which I don't know why I didn't save, but those are, that's weird. Well, don't worry about it. Those are not, those are just displayed to the user. This is going to record as 1 or 0, 1, and 2. Well, to remember that, and I'm going to go get a label. My bet is I just have a bug in the storyboard. And we'll tweak this a little bit. There we go. So this is our create a new task button page. Pretty simple. And we'll tie it together with our view controller Swift code. So pretty straightforward, normal stuff, nothing special there. Let's go ahead and get these two lined up. I still don't know why that's not showing the right thing. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, problem solved. All right, and so we'll go ahead and split this so we can see both at the same time. Connect these suckers. Oopsie. Sweet. I like to space these things out so it's a little bit easier. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and hit go, make sure nothing blows up. Let's just make sure that I have all my connections proper. Great, so I can type in a task, set a priority, and hit save. Nothing happens. Awesome. So first what we need to do is we now set up the storyboard. Now what we need to do is modify our Swift code so that we actually have a struct that can represent a new task. So I'm just going to put it anywhere. I'm just going to put it up here, the struct. I'm going to call task. And the task consists of a name, which has to be a string, a status, which we're going to default to a number, but we could use this later to like change it from a completed task to an incompleted task, and priority. And that's going to be set by my segment controller. Now, I don't just want to create a task. I want to create a list of tasks. And just for a test standpoint, we'll go ahead and create we'll create a list of tasks. But we've already created arrays of structs, which is what we're going to create. So we'll call it all tasks. And we'll populate it with a default task. And so, its name will be default. Its status will be 1, and its priority will be 3. So a high priority task, or whatever we're going to end up changing these things to be, and status will set to 1 as just the default status and that sort of thing. Okay, next what we're going to do is make it so when you hit the save button that we populate all tasks with append to all tasks, whatever the new task that you just created was. So we'll just create a new task variable to hold our new task once we've created it. New task is a task. And its name is going to come from the text field. So that's task name text field dot text. Remember, that's whatever the user typed in. Its status is going to be based on the segment of control. So that is called priority seg control dot, and I always forget what that number is. Selected segment index. So whatever they had selected in this slider is what that's going to be. And oh, I put that in the wrong place. Status is going to always default to 1 because we're making a new task. We'll have another page, for instance, that might change that status. And its priority is what it was in the segment of controller. It doesn't like something I'm doing. What doesn't it like? Oh, I didn't type that in. Right. Not task name text field. This is why I like to do this sort of thing. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Great. So now we created a new task that consists of a task, and it's all set based on what the user typed in. Awesome. And let's go ahead and now append to all tasks that new one that we just created. Great. So now all tasks first says default, and then we'll have the new task that we just created. Doesn't like something I just did. What doesn't it like? Give me a second. Oh, silly me. All tasks needs to be an array. An array of tasks. And the first one happens to be default. Great. And then just to test it, we'll print that all tasks array once we press the button. Notice we haven't actually saved anything. It's just getting all this stuff ready for save. Let's run a test. Sweet. And now when I look down here, you can see I have that default one that I put in, but right after it I have go to store, and its priority is set to 1. The reason its priority is set to 1 is because I set medium, so it goes high is 0, medium is 1, low is 2. Now that I think about it, we should probably go low, medium, high, so that the numbers make sense. The higher number, the higher the priority. So I'm just going to change that around just for my own sanity. and make sure that all looks good. Yep. Okay. So great, we've now created a task called go to store. The problem is, just like we were talking about before, the second that I kill this app, like this, and come back, that list no longer exists. So if I make a new one, or if I run this code all over again, whenever I print, I'll lose the go to store. So I might say, go to class is a high priority. Save. And now you'll see default is there, and go to class has a status of 1 and a priority of 2, but there's no go to grocery store. Cool. So now it's time to save it. And this is where we're going to add a new thing. So far, nothing here should be totally brand new. This should basically make sense. The new thing we're going to do is save to user defaults. And you're like, well, yeah, we've done that before. However, now, instead of just setting something directly using the for key, the kind of name value pair, what we're going to do is take the struct that we've created, or the array of all tasks, and we're going to break it down and encode it. Basically what it's going to do is convert it from a task to basically a string of data that the computer is going to just know as a string of data. And then when we retrieve it out of saving, we'll decode it back into a struct structure. If that doesn't make a lot of sense, I'll walk you through it as we go. So the first thing we're going to do is just try doing this. Try is new. This just lets us test to see something if it works or not. If it doesn't work, then nothing happens. So we're just going to try encoding using a property list. And then this all looks brand new, but we're going to do something totally like you've seen before using user defaults, which is set a key for it. All right, I'm going to get rid of this so we can see it better. Now, I get an error message, and I'll explain what's going on in a second, but what this is saying is, hey, go into user defaults, take the standard set of user defaults, and try setting something. And I want you to try encoding the tasks, this all tasks list. The problem is we have not said that our all tasks is encodable. And the way that we say that it's encodable is we change our struct from just being a normal struct to saying it is codable. Now our tasks can be converted into different things and converted back out of things. So I can encode this task into the user defaults, and then when I try to retrieve it, I can decode it. Standard already likes to test and go slow. It goes bloop, 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 creates it, and go to sleep might be a medium priority. Saving the task. You can see I still get default and go to sleep, but none of the old stuff. The good news is nothing crashed, because this that I'm looking at in the log is being generated right here. So we know that line 39 worked. Awesome. So while we can't see it, saved into the name save task is a encoded version of the all tasks array that includes the default task as well as the one that I typed into. Sweet. All is working. This is really, really great. Exactly what I want. Okay, so now we're going to do the thing where down in view did load, we're going to load our saved data and do stuff with it. So let's go ahead and do it. We've done this a couple different ways, or a different way last time, but I'll show you another way, which is to check to see if the user already has some saved tasks. Nothing new so far here. This is what you're used to. For key. We're going to try to pull up save task. With this, by having this if statement in here, and then I'm letting data equals that, and basically if this is true, then data gets to be used later. It'll all make sense in a second. Okay, so I'm saying if that's true, but here's the fancy part. I don't want to just take save tasks as I receive them. I want to retrieve them out of the user defaults as just a string of data. All right, so what this is saying is, if this exists, then set it to data so that we can use lowercase data. So we can use data inside these curly brackets, lowercase data inside these curly brackets. Well, just to make this simple, we'll call this my data, so it makes more sense to you guys. And don't just pull it out of user defaults as my data, but treat it as just a string of data. And that's because we've encoded it. And so we now need to take that string of data and decode it back into an array of tasks. And so now I'm going to say, okay, wipe out all tasks that I had before and replace it with the data. All tasks equals, again, try. This is here just in case this decoding doesn't work right. Decode as an array of tasks. Save it, and task is defined in this view controller, so in itself. And I want you to do that. I want to use the property decoder decode method. Do that to it. Where do you want to come it from? From the my data that I had above. And print all the tasks. Okay, so what's happening? Let's walk through this again. So we're saying if, that's just to make sure that if the user hasn't saved any data, it will actually work. If the user hadn't saved any data and we tried pulling out of it, the whole app would crash. So this is saying check to see if this is true. If it is, then run this. All right, so let's see what we're doing with the test to see if it's true. This is a slightly different format than what I showed you in class the other day, but it's shorthand and makes things a little bit easier once you get it. It's checking to see if this is possible. And if it is possible, then it runs the code. And what it's doing is setting my data. I'm using let instead of var here because I'm never going to change my data because I'm just retrieving it. And I'm only going to be messing with it inside of view.load, which only runs once. So what this is saying is load out of user defaults all of our saved tasks and treat them as a string of data and save them into the variable my data. If that's successful, then run this. And so then what I'm doing in line 40 is I'm saying, hey, go in and grab all tasks and replace it with a decoded version of my data. Basically reconstruct what we had before as an array of tasks. And then print all tasks just so we can make sure it worked. Okay, let's try it. Hey, look at that. It did. Already on the view.load, it loaded in the default task that I had, as well as the new one I created, which was go to sleep. Let's go ahead and test it by creating some new ones. So maybe after go to sleep, you need to brush your teeth. And I'll be honest with you, brushing your teeth is a high priority. And then after you brush your teeth, you need to get dressed. Also high priority. Maybe a low priority would be check Twitter. And then go to class, high priority. Come on, people, you're paying for it. And then after class, you might need to write down your homework. But you know you got Canvas, so it's kind of a low priority to write that down. And then go to study area. Also medium priority, maybe you need to go pee first. And then do homework, high priority, and then submit homework. Also high priority, save. Okay, sweet. You can see down here, as I've been doing that, it's been constructing and updating the user defaults. Great. I'm going to go ahead and kill this app, rerun it as if it had never been run before. And now, out of user defaults comes all the stuff that I had just created. Awesome. All right, the next video, we'll actually do something with that.